Es esto. PlayStation Project Q es la nueva portátil de Sony enfocada en cloud gaming, como lo que estoy jugando ahorita. Es esta que está aquí. ¿La ven? Está cool, ¿no? Con la pantalla y el control. Está got. Durante PlayStation Showcase 2023, Sony presentó oficialmente la PlayStation Project Q, una nueva portátil. Tal y como había adelantado una filtración reciente, el hardware se enfocará enteramente en el cloud gaming. Los jugadores tendrán la oportunidad de hacer streaming de sus juegos de Play 5 a Project Q. O sea, como lo que estoy haciendo yo. Vaya lo que estoy haciendo. Por lo tanto, no esperes que el hardware portable integre componentes de última generación, ya que el procesamiento de los títulos será responsabilidad de la PlayStation 5. Ya. Por supuesto, la PlayStation Project Q se apoyará en Remote Play, la función de consolas PlayStation para hacer streaming de sus juegos a otros equipos como smartphones, tablets, ordenadores, todo desde la red de Wi-Fi del hogar. En esencia, PlayStation Project Q cumplirá el mismo propósito, que puedes disfrutar tus juegos de Play 5 más allá del salón principal. Sin embargo, para diferenciarse de los dispositivos mencionados antes, Sony ha diseñado su producto centrándose únicamente en la experiencia del gaming. PlayStation Project Q tiene mandos claramente inspirados en el DualSense. Es como si hubieran cortado el mando de la Play 5 en dos partes para colocar cada una a los extremos de la pantalla. Esta última, por cierto, mide 8 pulgadas y presume una resolución Full HD de 1080p. Sí, es más grande que el panel de Nintendo Switch, Steam Deck o la Asus ROG Ally. O sea, es para hacerle competencia a las demás. Para hacerle competencia a la Steam Deck, para hacerle competencia a la Nintendo Switch y a esta que ni sé qué es. Pero lanzaremos un dispositivo que te permite transmitir cualquier juego desde tu consola, Play 5 usando un Remote Play a través de Wi-Fi, conocida internamente como Proyecto Q. Tiene una pantalla HD de 8 pulgadas y todos los botones y funciones de mando inalámbrico DualSense, comentó Jim Ray, director de Sony Interactive. Esta. Se puede ver. Sale algo bien super no.
This year, we will launch a dedicated device that enables you to stream any game from your PS5 console using remote play over Wi-Fi. Internally known as Project Q, it has an 8-inch HD screen and all of the buttons and features of the DualSense wireless controller.
Increíble.
We look forward to sharing more information in the near future. I'm also pleased to reveal our first ever PlayStation earbuds.
Ah, claro, también trae
los audífonos to PS5 and PC. They simultaneously connect to smartphones via Bluetooth. New wireless technology will deliver lossless audio with low latency, giving you outstanding sound quality while you're
Increíble. Ok.
Look out for more details soon.
Ok. Cositas, ¿no? Cositas. Concuerdo con brillitos. Mejor un Steam Deck. Es que el Steam Deck, loco. El Steam Deck es otro rollo. El Steam Deck. No sé qué es esto. Pero es del Steam Deck, ¿no?
Hey everybody, this is Rusty Retro Game Core. So it's
¿Qué dice ese loco? A la bestia, tú la bestia, pero qué demonios. Está bien grande esa mierda, ¿no?
Valve has been knocking out of the park in that regard. And so I thought it would be a good time now to do an update to my
está bien crazy.
that I did about 6 months ago. I think at this point we all know
que...
that Steam Deck
aguanten. Me bugué.
PC gaming, especially at the price point.
Estoy bugueado, aguanten.
But I was surprised to find that the emulation capability of this device has
¿Cómo que le estoy metiendo promoción? ¿Qué dices?
first tested it a while.
¿Qué dices? Literalmente la PS Vita hace la misma chingadera. Ah, pues entonces no, un Steam Deck mejor. ¡Agárrenlo! Detrás de ti,
Hey everybody, this is Rusty Retro Game Core. So it's been about 6 months since I first got the Steam Deck in my hands. And we're seeing more
quiero verlo, güey, quiero verlo.
Yo
tengo mucha curiosidad.
Valve has been knocking out of the park in that regard. And so I thought it would be a good time now to do an update to my emulation showcase video that I did about 6 months ago. I think at this point we all know that the Steam Deck is incredible when it comes to PC gaming, especially at the price point of starting at $400. But I was surprised to find that the emulation capability capability of this device has improved greatly since we first tested it a while back. And so in this video, what I'm going to do is just run it through the whole suite of games and see exactly what you can expect when it comes to emulation, specifically on the Steam Deck. And long story short, this is easily
Eso sí está cariñoso ya. Alexis de los modelos. Es para gente con varo esa madre. Saquen el traductor. El traductor es para mí.
So kick back, grab a drink, and I hope you enjoy the showcase. Let's go.
Oye, pero se miraba grandote, está grandote. ¿Saben que yo una vez me soñé? Yo me soñé jugando Terraria en un Steam Deck.
Let's talk a little bit about my setup. Now, to get what you're seeing here on the screen, I'm using an app called Emudeck. And I've made videos about this before, but Emudeck is actually going through a full update, and I'll make an updated guide here.
Está grandota, ¿no?
The beauty about this setup is that I can
y aparte está emulando cosas de otros juegos, mira, de la Switch y tal.
But I can also load up emulation
de la Xbox y de todo.
Host all of the games within there as well. And so basically,
claro, pues ese es el video, ¿no? Emulation testing.
Regular SteamOS interface.
Y está pesado. Buenas noches, ¿qué onda, modelos? ¿Cómo estás?
Mira, Emudeck is going through an update.
Calienta bastante.
Testing the beta release of this right now. Essentially, what this is going to do is give you a graphical interface when you
para hacerlo una vez y ya. Pues mira, cómpratelo y luego me lo mandas, ya que lo uses. Está en 11,000, sí, por ahí. Sí, está en 11,000. A la bestia, Prime Hacks, dice. Qué cura que tienes una Steam Deck Super God, pero o sea, pasarán las generaciones, loco, y a pesar de tenerlo más nuevo así, Super God, siguen chipeando los dispositivos. Dame una Steam Deck chipeada, güey. Una Steam Deck chipeada para jugar al Mario. ¿Sabes? Para jugar esto. Full chipeados. ¿Quién sueña jugando Terraria? Exacto, de Capi. Efectivamente fui yo. El Japol le hizo review y bueno, no es bad. Pasé a jugar POU. Sí soy. ¿Correrá Doom? Aguanta, ¿el Doom el nuevo o el Doom 64? O el Doom de antes, el 1877. A huevo, Sonic ya me conoció. Sí soy. ¡Ey! Soy yo jugando Pokémon. Ese sí soy yo, este. Oye, pero, o sea, el tamaño está god, loco, se me hace god, ¿no? O sea, está una buena pantalla, está grandote. 60 FPS en Pokémon rojo. Sí.
So anyway,
hasta
yes,
120
when it comes
si quieres.
to emulation all the way up through PSP, you will be able to upscale it to at least the Steam Deck resolution and still have great performance. And really, there are no surprises there. So let's move on to some of the higher-end emulators and see how the performance
lo vale.
now. First and foremost,
está grande la chingadera.
My old video,
no mames, ya me convenció también. Es más grande, está más grande que mi Switch.
I knew the Steam Deck was powerful enough to play those systems with no problem, but I was still
el Double Dash
a lot of slowdown.
De la GameCube.
I just figured it had to do something with an optimization of the emulator or maybe the Steam Deck setting. Either way, now when it comes to GameCube, you should be able to play at a 2x resolution.
A ver qué ponga.
So if anything, I think the emulators have improved over the last 6 months.
El Alexis cuando se compre su Steam Deck.
On the widescreen hack, most of the games will play just fine.
Mira, Solid
like that,
Snake.
you may get some distortions with certain games. Now, one thing I do recommend testing out if you'd like is go into the controller settings for each game.
Aquí está emulando juegos de Wii, de GameCube, de Prime Hack y aquí de 3DS, Play 2 y Xbox. O sea, va por consolas.
Which in this case are a 2x resolution. And as you can see here, the games are running just great. Not only that, Emudeck comes with a controller
es lo que va a confirmar si se lo compran, no literal.
Which is going to allow you to use the back pedals to do things like swapping the screens. It's super
está bien perro, está
god. Let's do PS2 emulation. For this,
voy a jugar 3DS cuando sí tengo una.
Standalone emulator. And like with the others, this one has also been pre-configured in Emudeck. It's going to be running at a 2x resolution by default, and most games are going to play great.
Tengo una 3DS, pero voy a jugar en Steam Deck.
The games from the PS2 era in particular had this bad habit of having cutscenes that you could not skip. And so by pressing select and R2, you can at least enable a fast forward, which on average will give you like a 3x.
Pero se ve muy god,
That's going to make some of those cutscenes a little bit more palatable.
A ver si pone Halo, güey.
Board, PS2 appears to be plug and play for most every game you could throw.
Halito.
Of course, your 3D platformers like Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, they play no problem.
Ratchet and Clank,
but you can push it even further with games like God of War.
Mario Kart de la Steam Deck, sí, así parece.
Frames here at 720p. We're going to be a little bit limited by the resolution of the Steam Deck screen, so it's not going to look like ultra sharp, but all the same,
a la bestia el God of War
really nice and totally playable. Okay, let's move over to the original Xbox. For this one in particular, I had to swap between 2x and 1x resolution to make most of the games.
El Halo Combat Evolved es el primer Halo.
Only complaint when it comes to emulating on the Steam
No es tan god, no puedo soportar.
Original Xbox emulation
A ver qué ponga de Switch.
A little bit to be desired. Now, to be fair, this is a hard system to emulate. Most
Retro System, GameCube, Wii.
And so if you are looking to emulate original Xbox
Wii en Play 3.
it's probably going to be a little bit more
Momento con más reproducciones.
For example,
Switch, aquí está.
Halo game plays just fine,
Bueno, vamos a ver primero este que es de Wii y de Play 3. ¿Ah? Pero aquí está el de Switch.
Que
ponga el GT de las maquinitas, ahí te lo pone tú tranqui.
For a couple of the games, I
Esto
did
es de
make
Wii.
some adjustments within the settings. For example, with Wind Waker HD, I did
el Cartoon
reduce the
Link.
resolution from the native 1080p
Qué god. Este es el de los barcos, el de las islas.
But this is
Sé cuál
the
juego
same
es.
native resolution
Ese
for
está cool.
most of the other Wii U games, and so
Está
no
cool,
big
está
loss
cool.
there. Also, if you go into the graphics pack settings,
Pero tienes que ir por las islas con tu barquito.
which will make some of the colors pop even more. And so honestly, I
Me
think
cayó el
across the
hocico,
board,
dice,
this
no
is
mames.
probably going to be the best way that you could play this exact game on a handheld device.
A
Of
la
course, the
bestia.
biggest challenge when it comes to Nintendo emulation across the board is always going to be Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
¡Hola!
Now, for this game, I prefer to use the
¿Cómo?
Wii U version
El Breath of
over
the Wild,
Switch
amigos.
one because I can have access to cheats and mods that are really easy to use. And I'm also happy to say that at a 720p resolution, you can put on a 40 frames per second cap and it's going to run beautifully. In fact, I would say
¿Sí, no?
this runs better than it does natively on the Switch and definitely better than it does on the Wii U.
¿Cómo que
And so,
cheats y
as
mods?
you can see here, Breath of the Wild is totally playable on the Steam Deck and it's honestly a joy to use. This is one of those games that really
Yo tengo ese, pero la secuela. Ah, Simón, el Tears of the Kingdom.
Steam Deck in particular. All right, let's move up to
¿Corre el Buscaminas?
PlayStation 3. As you can see here, most of the PS3 games actually play really well too. I was actually pretty surprised to see how well they
¡Hala!
performed because the PS3
Pa' jugar
emulator
tenis,
actually
güey.
preferred
Algo
to have
bien, ¿eh?
lots of cores and threads. But even so, most of the games I played on the Steam Deck were playable. Some of
A
them,
la
like
bestia. A
Dead
ver,
or
vamos
Alive
a ver,
5,
vamos a ir a
couldn't
la
get
parte
stable
con más
60 frames per
reproducciones.
second,
De
but
hecho,
it
esta es la
still
parte con más
took more
reproducciones,
than
¿eh?
the Switch
La de
emulation.
Switch.
If you remember from my previous
Switch emulation.
Switch emulation videos, I had to kind of play it coy when it came to emulating.
No mames, ¿quién
the
juega
Switch at the
tenis?
time. And that was because Nintendo
No he
had been
estudiado
taking
nada.
down videos that showed Nintendo Switch on the Steam Deck.
Es que está
And I
bien
think since
interesante
then,
esto.
Nintendo was kind of
Hola,
backed
qué
off from
fluido,
that
¿no?
whole thing. But just to be safe,
Va
I'm
como
gonna
a
show the cartridge of the game
564.5
that I'm
exactamente
dumping and emulating
FPS.
right here on the Steam
Más o
Deck.
menos.
And there's a great video from Linus which talks about the legality of dumping your own games to play on emulators. And so I'll have that linked in the video description.
Voy a
below
ahorrar a
in case
comprar
you
una.
want to
Yo,
see.
es que
Either way,
yo por eso
across the
decía,
board,
amigos,
the Switch emulation on this
yo,
device is
yo
gotten
quiero
better
la...
and
O sea, si yo quiero una
We're basically
portátil,
at the
quiero
point
la
that
Steam
most
Deck.
every Switch game that I can throw at it is just playing fine.
La
Some games like
Brillitos no
Mario
ha
Odyssey are
estudiado.
definitely not going to hit 60 frames
Y la Mari,
the entire time.
y la Mari
but
no ha
by
hecho
looking
sus
at the footage
bolsas.
here, you can see that
No
it
anda
is
haciendo
still
nada por estar
absolutely
bien.
playable. And again, with the improved
No mames,
ergonomics
va
of the Steam
tercero.
Deck, I actually prefer to play them here than on the actual Switch. Now, sadly, not every game is going to play perfectly. Legend of Zelda is a great
Uy,
example.
este
For this
Legend of
one, I
Zelda se me
used a
hace
couple
cool.
different mods
Me gusta
to
el
remove
diseño, así
the
como
blurring
bien
as well as
cartoon.
the dynamic
Está bonito
resolution. But still, even
este
then, you
Legend
can
of
see
Zelda.
there's quite a bit of stuttering.
Así
even
como
in
chiquito,
handheld mode.
dibujito, se
Now,
me hace
there's
cool.
one other thing we can do to try to improve performance, but before we do that, let's take a quick cat break.
¡Eh, un
The
gatito!
weather in Hawaii has finally started to cool off a little bit, and so
El de
my
Link
cat
Despierta.
Chicken
No,
has
no.
finally started
El
to
Link
grace me
Awaken
with
se
her
llama.
presence here on my lap.
No sé si
And
es
so I
ese.
would
No,
expect
no,
to
no,
see
no es el
more
nombre.
frequent
Ah,
cat
sí, cierto, ahí
breaks
está
in
arriba,
the
perdón.
Either way, Chicken
Es
says
que no
hello,
andaba
and so
leyendo,
let's
pido
move on to the
perdón.
rest of the video. Now, the final thing we can do for Nintendo Switch emulation, in addition to using it in handheld mode,
Me
is
compro.
to reduce the resolution down to 75%. There is actually a 50% resolution
Al final todos
setting,
mueren
but
la verga
honestly, I
porque
don't
sí un
recommend
sueño.
it. The games look pretty lousy. But I do think that a 75% resolution
Miche,
is
like.
acceptable. It will improve the performance for most of the games, but it's still not going to be perfect, as you can see here. The other thing to bear in mind is the more that you play the game, the more the shaders will cache, and you may get better performance in the long run as well. So if you have a game that's just on the cusp cusp of being playable, I would say keep at it and maybe it'll get better. Either way, yes, across the board.
Qué culero está ese que ya ponga otro. Nomás porque dije que me gustaba ese Legend of Zelda. Increíble.
And so if you have a bunch of Nintendo Switch games
Solo porque dije que ese estaba cool.
That you can play them on the Steam Deck, I would recommend checking out the Yuzu webpage, which has a tutorial on how to set all that up.
Mario
it's
Paper.
Not an easy
¿Cómo?
process, but once you have it done, you'll be able
Origami
to play your
King.
Switch games directly on the Steam Deck, which is kind of
Qué
awesome.
loco, ¿no?
Anyway, that's about it for this video. I'd kind of been putting off this emulation showcase for a while, but kind of for a weird
Metroid
reason.
Droid de
And
la
that's
Switch.
because every time I start emulating games on the Steam Deck, it kind of sours the experience for every other handheld I own. The
A la
honest
bestia,
truth here
pero
is
está
that
cool,
when it
eh?
comes to power to performance, there's nothing that compares to the Steam Deck when it comes to emulation. Now, that being said, the Steam Deck is not a perfect console. For example, it is quite big,
Es
and
bastante
the overall
grande.
screen resolution
La resolución
can leave a little
general
bit to be desired. But
puede
I
dejar
think
que
pound for
desear, ok,
pound,
la-
when it comes to performance and ergonomics, this is still one of my favorite handhelds of all
En
time.
rendimiento
And the
y
crazy thing is
ergonomía y todo
here,
ese
we haven't
rollo.
even done any PC
Dice que
gaming
está
on
muy
this
good.
entire video, because that side is a whole new world as
Nada
well.
más que a lo
But
mejor
I
el
think it's
tamaño
been
está
well
como
documented, especially
muy
compared to
tosco, ¿no? Porque está
emulation.
muy grande.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below.
Lo siento, solo
And
mueren
be
todos
on the
porque
lookout for my updated
mueres un
MDEC
güey de verdad,
configuration
valió que
guide,
ese
which
universo
should be
de-
coming out here pretty soon. Either
Mira
way,
que hijos de
thank
la
you for
chingada
watching,
ponen
and be
el
sure to like
juego
and
original
subscribe if
con
you found
el
this helpful,
con el
and we will
cartucho
see
al
you
lado,
next
sí.
time. Happy gaming.
Dicen que lo tienes que gastar. Oye, pues qué god. ¡Hola! Ah, no, esto no es, ¿verdad? Esta es la Asus ROG. Steam Deck, güey. Oye, pues muy god, ¿eh? Me quemé un video de 14 minutos. O sea, no entero, ¿verdad? Obviamente, pero a la bestia, güey. Está bien. The best Steam Deck accessories. Yo, amigos,